Hello, everybody. We're back. A little bit different style video for today. Not going live. This is just kind of to see how this one goes. I've been doing the live streams and then just letting them, kind of catch their thing on the algorithm. But I think it's not working as well as just posting videos like this. And so that's what we're going to try to do today. So let's do that. Let's see how this works. I'm trying to just grow this page as much as I can. Kind of just taking it easy. I know this is gonna take time, so we're just kind of being consistent. I'm going live every day, posting a video every day, kind of hoping that something will come from it. And obviously, like with my style and everything, I got this inspiration from a lot of the other watch along Arsenal news channels. Curtis Shaw, Turkish, like all those guys kind of were my influence for this, and you can kind of tell by the style. So I'm not like trying to, say, oh, this is my idea. I'm the original, I'm the OG of this style of content. I'm not. And I think that would be arrogant if someone did think they were the OG, because that is just not true. Anyway, so we kind of have like, we're in a weird spot right now. As Arsenal fans, we're kind of just waiting for Gyokeres to get here we go, or say, hey, we're signing him, because it's kind of in like that 90% stage of being finished or not. There's not a whole lot of news about it. Yesterday in my video, I kind of said, I think we're going to sign him. I think it's going to be announced yesterday, an hour after I went live, which was probably like 8 p.m. British Standard Time. So that obviously did not happen. This would be a totally different title video, and it's not. So we kind of got to go with what we got. And today, it's an interesting one. And I think that this signing is splitting the fan base in half. I mean, not even half, maybe in like quarters, because it's not this signing is really destroying people's thoughts about the club and how we're going to do future business. So we're going to see. This is what I'm talking about. You guys probably already know, but I'm talking about Madueke. And, people are not liking this one. And I think that's okay. I think it's okay to be skeptical about this signing, especially for the price tag that they're asking for. I mean, £50 million for Madueke is crazy, and that's only because of Anthony Elanga making his move to Newcastle for $55 million. But again, you're kind of comparing the same profile of player. Don't get me wrong, but you're also comparing different success rates. Obviously, Anthony Elanga is a top player for Nottingham Forest, and you're comparing him to Madueke, who hasn't really hit his stride yet in the Premier League. He was good at PSV in the Eredivisie, but I mean, the PSV to Premier League, it works for some players, it doesn't work for others. But he clearly hasn't hit the ground running at Chelsea yet. So it's definitely interesting to see how this one plays out. It looks like it's marching towards, something's going to come from this, but I think there's still going to be a disagreement with the valuation of this player. £50 million is just absurd for a player that's coming in. He's being a backup. And, if I think if this guy was at any other club besides Chelsea, and this information was released saying that we're signing him, I think that people would be happier. It's only because it's coming from Chelsea. It seems like Arsenal is literally, we must have done something so bad to them, or they must have done something so bad to us, or whatever. They have dirt on Arsenal, something. Why do we keep going back to the club and signing players? That's the question I have to ask. Kepa, Havertz, Jorginho, Madueke, David Luiz, Petr Cech. It seems like it's weird. We're like a recycling bin for this team, for this club, and it's hit or miss. It's hit or miss for me. I'm a big Kai Havertz fan, so I think he's done well for this for Arsenal, and I think that he still has a lot more to do for us. And I don't think he's a flop signing, quote unquote. I don't like using that term because I feel like it gets thrown around a lot for players that, haven't given enough of a chance. So, do I think Madueke is a flop? No. He's 23 years old. I mean, he's younger than Martinelli. I'm pretty sure Martinelli's 24. So, I mean, he's a young player. Athletics, you're not hitting your prime till you're 28. I mean, look at Victor Gyokeres, who we're about to sign. He's 27, 28 years old, and he's now hitting his stride. He was at Brighton, then he was at Swansea, Coventry, back to Brighton to, or Coventry to Sporting. Now he's been dicing it up. He did well in Coventry, and now he's doing really well at Sporting. So, that's a player who hit his stride later in his career. I think Madueke is a good player, is a good signing for us that, could do the same exact thing. Now, what frustrates me is that he's just a Chelsea player, and why is this pattern keep continuing to happen where we sign Chelsea players? That's not how I want to do business. I want to do business in a way that we find, diamonds in the rough. Martinelli, with diamond in the rough. We got him from Brazil. We scouted him from Brazil. We signed him. Turned out to be a good signing. Gabriel, playing at Lille, he was really good. I mean, call that a diamond in the rough? I don't know. Saliba, I feel like it was kind of like a diamond in the rough too. He was at Saint Etienne, and we found him. We brought him in, then we kept loaning him around. We've developed players from these. I don't want to say not top teams, because Lille, they're considered, I would say they're considered mid-top team. They won the Ligue 1 recently. Saliba, I mean, at Saint Etienne is not really a top team, but it's a mid-table team in Ligue 1, and we found him there. Why are we going to a rival, a London-based rival? Maybe it's easier to convince a player from a London team because they don't have to move very far. He's going from Chelsea to North London. I mean, it's not that far away for him to relocate, and it's easier for them to kind of agree, terms. So maybe that's leverage for us, that we're kind of taking advantage of the locations, and we don't have to, bring someone from over, whatever other league in Europe. But I just think that that's not a good excuse for Arsenal to use, saying that, oh, it's location based, because I don't really believe that fully. But how I want to do business is let's look into, look at Bakayoko from PSV. I mean, that's a rapid player. Look at what Man City's been doing with Doku. Like, they're bringing in players from, other leagues and other countries that, sure, they're not Prem proven players, but that's a silly thing to rely on. Like, I want a Prem proven player. Like, sure, you do. Obviously, that's great, but we can't rely on that all the time. It just doesn't make sense to make that, oh, I want this, he's a Prem proven player. Like Norgard, for example. Yes, that is a good reason to sign a Prem proven player. He's a Prem proven leader. That's a tongue twister. He's a Prem proven leader, and that's good. That's a good signing for experience and for depth. I'll take that, sure. But signing Madueke, is he Prem proven? No. He's not really performing at his best, and he still has to develop and be worked on. To work on, behind the scenes with Saka, yeah, sure, that's okay. But I would rather, maybe this is my EAFC career mindset, where I'm like, let's scout Belgium, let's scout I'm trying to think of another league, for example, but let's scout a lower league. Let's find this diamond in the rough. Let's do our research. Let's scout these players. Let's break the norm. Let's go against the status quo of just buying from Premier League teams. Because look at what Chelsea's doing. I mean, I think they paid Brighton £250 million in the course of 2 years. So, I don't understand why we have to follow suit with the same, business analytics, business tactics, because I just don't think it's smart. I don't think it's going to, satisfy us in the long run. I want, as a fan, it makes it more exciting as well when you're like, oh, we're getting this guy from the Korean League or the J League in Japan, and it's like, what is, like, let me research this guy. I haven't heard of them before. I've heard of Madueke. I've seen him play against us. He's not special. He's not anything special, but yes, he is depth. He is depth, and he can be developed. And I think Mikel Arteta is really good at developing players, and this is a guy that he can work with. He's English, but I saw something that he's not considered homegrown, which is a little weird. I don't know how that works, honestly, but he's English. He's gotten his English cap. He's played. Maybe we're just not seeing it. As fans, we don't know all the information that, the scouts and these coaches, put out on the table. Maybe we're not seeing something. Do I think it's rude to, say, oh, there's not one fan that doesn't see it? I think there's a lot of people with a lot of information, and we can kind of see with our own eyes, but maybe there's something that we're missing. I don't know. I don't really believe that. I think we're seeing what we're seeing, and I think that we're seeing what Mikel Arteta and Bert's plans are. Let's bring him in. Let's develop him, and let's have two relatively the same age, Bukayo Saka and Madueke. Let's have them, split time. I don't think you can split time with Bukayo Saka. Sure, we'll rest him for cup games and, Carabao and FA, but are you really gonna stop playing Saka in the Champions League? No, I don't think you should. I mean, sure, we should rest him, but if you're going to rest him, let's bring on someone who's quality. Are we really going to remember last season, we take off Saka or we take off Martinelli and we bring in Sterling? It's like the skill level just plummeted right there and the game stopped. Our attacking was already fragile, and we brought on Sterling, who didn't make it any better. So I just don't want to see that happen again this year with Madueke. I don't know. I'm interested to see how this one plays out. I'm split for sure. They're answering our demands, the club. People were saying, I want a Saka backup. I want a good Saka backup. They're doing that. They're finding someone who's a Saka backup. Good or not, that's for us to kind of judge. And people are questioning, well, what about Ethan Nwaneri? Nwaneri is not, yes, he played on the right wing for us last year when Saka got hurt, and he did a great job. But I see Nwaneri in the plans that I think the coaches see him is an Odegaard replacement. Not replacement, but an Odegaard filler. He doesn't have he has roughly the same profile, but he offers a little bit more than Odegaard does. He's quicker. Him being young makes him more, he's able to take more risks. He is not the club captain. He's able to kind of force the direction of the attack in a better, more positive way than Odegaard, because he wants to take risk. He wants to prove himself, which is good. And I think that's what we need. We need someone who's going to break the game, break the stereotype, break the system. And Ethan Nwaneri does that. So I think, Ethan Nwaneri moves into the 10 or the 8, and that's good for his development. He's young. He can learn to play that position, and he's going to do a really good job. Now, if we move him where Odegaard is, we do need someone. And I think Madueke, that's where his role and his purpose in the club is. He's going to be that Saka backup. So now I don't know what they pitched to him for him to, be willing to accept personal terms already. They must have said, you're going to be a frequent rotation player. So that's going to be interesting to see if he does sign for us. Like, how do we use him and how often is he playing? Because I think, I would be glad to see Saka rested, but at the same time, I would be concerned for Madueke not really coming in and rotating as much. And for the price tag, I feel like we should get our money's worth, and we should play him as much as we can, because we're playing a pretty hefty fee for him, at 50 million euros. So that's Madueke. that's my spiel on him, my stance on him. Here we go. Eze. Boom. This is a player I'm excited for. And Josh Nichols, I talked about this yesterday again. I think Eze is a great signing for us, and he's one that I'm actually really excited that if we bring him in, it's kind of like the Declan Rice signing. It feels like it. He's going to turn a spark, and he's sparking the interest of the fan base. So I'm really excited for Eze if we can get him across the line. And if we have to offer up Josh Nichols, I think that's really good. Do I think Crystal Palace accept that? I don't know. Is Josh Nichols a good enough prospect in their eyes that it's going to, reduce the amount that we have to pay up front? He has a 68 million euro release clause. I don't think that, I think we can put up that money. I really do. And especially since it's in installments, I think that makes it even easier. We can split it up, and we're saving ourselves a lot of money by doing that. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how this one plays out. And I do think Josh Nichols is, in my opinion, a good enough prospect for Crystal Palace to see and accept, especially if they lose Mark Gahey this year. So, I mean, I think we should kind of put all of our eggs in this basket as of right now. Rodrigo is not going to happen anytime soon. That's more of like a end of July, August type signing, just with the Club World Cup and everything. So I think that, let's finish Gyokeres. Let's finish Mascara, because he kind of went under the radar. And then let's fully focus on bringing Eze, because I'll be pleased if, let's say, we get Eze, we get Gyokeres over the line, and we get Mascara over the line, but we don't end up signing Rodrigo. I'm going to be like, that's still a really good window. We brought in 2 attacking players. We brought in Eze, who is actually a creative left wing, but he is more, impactful through the center. So we're bringing in a very versatile attacking player. Plus, we have good backup in the left wing if we don't have to sell Martinelli or Trossard. So then I'm a little bit more positive about that if we don't get Rodrigo. Now let's say we do get Rodrigo, and that means an outgoing for Trossard and Martinelli. Then I'll be a little bit more upset. I don't really want to see Martinelli go. I don't really want to see Trossard go, but that's me probably emotionally attaching to these players, because I think that Trossard is a great player for us, and he's had a great, career for Arsenal, and I'm sad to see him go. But if we can get 20 million euros for him, you got to take that deal, because he's older. He's hitting 30s, 31, and getting 20 mil for him, that's as much as we paid. So we're kind of breaking even on that, which I think is good. And we bring in Rodrigo, obviously, and Martinelli, Rodrigo. That's an insane duo to have on the left side. I mean, it's looking like our backups could beat, any team in the Premier League right now. And that's a good sign of a progressing football club. And so I'm really happy with the business that we're doing this summer. And I think it's a real step up from, obviously anything would have been a step up from last year and in January, because we didn't do anything in January. So this definitely is a step up from signing Mikel Merino, Calafiore, and Raheem Sterling on loan at midnight. So I think we're moving in the right direction. This is really good for the club. And I hope we can get these deals across the line, at least something before preseason. Let's finish up Gyokeres. Let's get him in the club announced before preseason. That way we can kind of see how he fits in the team. And I will be doing watch-alongs for those games. So, if you do end up seeing this video, stay in touch with the channel, because I'll be live for those games, and they're early here in the US, but I'll be talking them through, and it's going to be fun to watch. I'm excited to see our preseason tour and how it really works out for us. But, that's kind of everything that I got. Like I said, it's a slow day today. Just waiting on some big news to break, and it feels like it's imminent. It's going to happen very soon. I hope I pronounced that right. using big words, but I'm trying to make this content as raw as possible. I feel like that, everything's so highly edited these days that you kind of lose that personality a little bit, but I'm trying to make this as raw as possible, trying to, you understand me and I understand the viewers. So it's like, very transparent. And I think that content, especially, talking sports, it's really nice because we can have a good flowing conversation like that. So if you've seen this, check out the live. I'll probably go live tomorrow again, trying to do this daily, but if I miss some days, I miss some days. But yeah, so thanks for watching if you did. And till next time.